Patter. Let's get at her. It is another episode of the Mainly Broncos podcast, and we are honored to have Justin Adams, CBS News and sports reporter, joining the program tonight. Actually, it's kind of a long time coming. Justin and I have been wanting this to kind of happen for quite a while, and then obviously this training camp happened. Justin said, "Hey, if you got your show coming, I want to be on it." So we made it happen. Justin is on the program. How you doing, man? You doing good first and foremost?
Doing great. Getting ready for CU to take on Georgia Tech. Should be a fun game. The reality is that game will be I consider that to be a fast-moving game because both teams will have to run the football, and whoever's the most physical up front is going to win. So really excited for the season kicking off.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, Jordan and Brandon are in the house. We have a full house today, so it's going to be a lot of fun. We might actually talk about a little bit of some college football and talk. We may or may not slide some CU buff and Nebraska slander here and there, or of course, because Jordan is a big Miami Hurricane, so we may slander Cam Ward here and there. But so
I have no college football allegiances. I'm just here. Where's my popcorn?
Right.
I'm just here for the vibes at this point.
But nonetheless, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Jordan and Brandon, how are you guys doing tonight? You guys good?
Doing good. Can't complain.
Doing great. Just currently overthinking my fantasy football roster that I just drafted. No big deal. No big deal.
It is the fantasy football season. Brandon and I had
Cam and I are in a league that I completely forgot about. Did not know I was in this league until yesterday. The commissioner sends out an email saying the draft is today. So, yeah, I'm in 4 leagues again this year. Definitely didn't think that was happening, but it's fine. We're good. It's okay. It's going to be fun. I didn't panic pick a few guys. I did not do that. Okay. So I'm okay. But I'm good.
Brent, do you have any kids, my man?
No.
That is
thankfully. Not yet.
You are not in more leagues than 2 if you have kids.
I was trying to be in 2. And then unfortunately, 2 of them I'm the commissioner of. So one of them I was hoping we weren't doing it anymore. And then some people messaged me like, "Hey, we want to do this league again," even though no one said anything when I asked. It's like, okay, well, fine. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll be in those 2. And then I'm in another one with Cam that's an auto draft. So I'm like, it's fine. I don't have to think about it. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to have 2 real leagues, 1 auto draft league I don't care about. And then yesterday I get that message and I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm in another one.
The most hysterical part, though, was so we use NFL.com, for both of them. And for the auto one, and that's the family friends league with the auto draft. But Brandon messages me thinking,
well, I thought it was the other one.
Thinking it was the auto draft one. Knowing the fact that I sent out an email a week ago, letting everybody know this is when the fantasy football draft is, and so then he texts me and just is this the is it? And I said, no, this is our other buddy's league.
That's why I was confused because I thought that was the only league I had on NFL.com because my other leagues are all on Sleeper. And so I got that and I was like, oh, that must be the auto draft one because that's the only one I have on NFL.com. But it said live draft and I was like, okay, I'm confused. So I texted Cam. He's like, no, that's Bobby's league. And then here we are. So great night.
Yeah, nonetheless, I guess the whole story is don't be in too many leagues, right? I guess that's
dude, you can't. I'm dropping at least one of these next year, man. I can't do it anymore, man. There's no more. It's not possible.
Yeah, I guess the follow up too is Jordan and I are going to be in a draft next week. Yeah. So it's going to be kind of a hectic time. But
yeah, I have one league that I'm in. I won my station league.
That's got to feel good.
Oh, it's a great feeling. And the thing about it is I didn't just win it close. I won it by 100 points each game in the playoffs. And what happened is I figured out what our league was about. If you have a running backs when they catch the ball, when they get yards and everything, it's triple in our league. And I looked
as a PPR.
Yeah. And I was like,
Yeah.
doesn't anybody else see this? And so I literally loaded up on running backs and just snuck in like the last spot in the playoffs, and I just blew everybody out. I was like even for like the odds, because we do it on ESPN, and the odds were like, plus minus 100. And I was like,
Oh man.
it's like, hey man, look, congratulations on getting this far. I'm winning this, man. So it was cool.
I was expecting you to say you auto-draft, like you accidentally auto-drafted your team and then you won by 100 points because that would have been like, that's
horror right there.
That's like bad manners almost.
I would have loved it.
Yeah,
it would have been amazing. But
so Big Mike
cool.
chimes in. I'm assuming he does not mean fantasy team, because there is no way that
man, Big Mike is crazy. You never know.
50 to 60 teams a year would be,
dude, crazy.
You have a death wish.
Yes.
Yeah.
To keep up with
well, just like Justin's fantasy team, sneaking into the playoffs, the Broncos.
Yeah.
Snuck into the playoffs this last year, and it's quite optimistic, if you will. With this Denver Broncos team, and I guess like the first question that I've been kind of thinking about, so far with this season for the Broncos, Justin, is the expectations too much? Because I know everybody because I know everybody, mentions about, we really do enjoy being the underdog. And I know Sean Payton and specifically the team is really embracing the idea of how good their team is. But now in the last, 2 weeks, the optimism of the Denver Broncos from any sort of program, whether it's nationally or even on some people's, Twitter feeds, X feeds, whatever, the optimism is running high.
Yeah. It reminds me of an old Lauryn Hill lyric. They hell you to nail you no matter who you are. So in the sense of they're going to boost you up. And Mario, man, I love you, dude. That's my guy, Mario Matanzi, man. I love you, brother, man. I got to get my back done, man. So let me go holler at you. But they hell you to nail you no matter who you are. And that's the way that I kind of feel like with these Broncos, where it's let's go and talk to them so much and push them up so high. And then when they falter, which every team falters, then, okay, we're going to immediately hammer them, and their defense not as good as they were. Bo Nix took a step back and all this other stuff. I would say this for the Broncos is that it's kind of the feeling that just the overall national media wants somebody new other than the Kansas City Chiefs to be able to succeed in the AFC West. And the reality is the Kansas City Chiefs are still going to succeed in the AFC West. They're going to be a very difficult team. The Chargers are going to be another difficult team to be able to deal with. And so for the Broncos, they will have to rely on what really made them great last year, and that's having the best offensive line and the best defensive line in the NFL. And that's really where it's going to be predicated off of. It's great to have, Janae Barron and all these other different guys, Pat Surtain in the secondary. It's great to have all these guys that you have now, but you're not going to do anything if you don't win up front. And so that's where the Broncos are going to have to make their hay, is if they can continue to protect Bo Nix like they did last year and allow him to continue to mature and grow as a second-year passer. And then on the opposite side, can you stop the run? Can you do that first and put pressure on the quarterback, which is why you had so many sacks last year? So that's what this season will come down to. And it's one of the reasons why I do feel like it's just a little bit much right now when you talk about this team,
right?
Because they haven't proven it at that type of scale yet. But they are on the cusp of doing something special for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
I like that. I like that term.
Oh no, go ahead, Brandon.
I was gonna say I like that term, that hell you to nail you. I think I'm saying that right. That's a great way to think about it, because these are the same people that there was a lot of I'm just gonna mildly say skepticism going into Bo Nix's rookie year, which obviously blew everyone out of the water. I feel like that's a pretty unanimous thought that there's not a single person that saw that coming.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of okay, well, they're just gonna pile it on so that they can have content later if it doesn't happen. And then they're just oh, we were wrong. Bo Nix is who we thought he was, all that crap, right? So that's a really good way to put it.
Well, here's another thing too. Guys, how would you say CJ Stroud's season was last year? Like, would you say that was a success or would you say that's a failure?
Oh man, it's weird because there were some games he looked so good, like specifically against the Chiefs, absolutely just like lights out. But I would say compared to what you would maybe expect from him last year, given what he did his rookie year, you would maybe consider it a failure. Like, but that entire team imploded. Like specifically the offensive line imploded.
Right.
It's hard to say, but it's definitely not. You're probably not looking back on it fondly. But it was weird because he had some really good games, but it didn't show up in the win column.
Right. And Brandon, that's kind of my point where no, he didn't have the numbers that he did his rookie season. But would you be mad if the Broncos won a playoff game and then lost close in the second round to who just so happened to be the number 1 seed?
Yeah, I felt party.
2 seed, right? Like, would you be upset about that? Like, you'll be mad that they lost because you're like, dang, this is a team that can get to the Super Bowl, and Garrett Bowles is a year older. Quinn Meinerz is a year older, right? You look at the line, they're older, but you look around and overall say, hey, that's not really a terrible season. And that's kind of the feeling that I get where I'm not going to say at all to temper your expectations. Actually, I could say you could boost them because I believe Evan Ingram is going to unlock this offense that we haven't seen in a decade, honestly. But with that also, if this team wins a playoff game and the expectation is they should at least win a playoff game and they lose in the divisional round to a really good team, especially the way that they showed up in the playoffs last year against Buffalo, that's a growth period for this team. And so I would just say, just as we look at this team down the line and with the schedule that they have to deal with, it wouldn't surprise me if they got to the divisional round. It wouldn't surprise me if they got to the Super Bowl because you win games up front. But I just say as fans, let's go and, temper the expectations just a tad bit because everybody's saying Super Bowl or bust, and you still got to go through some very difficult teams in your own division before you have to deal with the Baltimores and Buffaloes.
Dude, if you told me if we win a playoff game, I'm throwing a party. I don't even care.
Exactly. Let me take it a step further. And I know the AFC South is terrible. I know the AFC South is like what my daughter does in a diaper. I get that. It's a terrible division, right? I mean, my God, Daniel Jones was able to walk into that division and start at quarterback. That should tell you everything you need to know. But they still won a playoff game at home and beat a Los Angeles Chargers team that I get it, right? You have quarterback was giving away all these interceptions for the Chargers, but you still won the game. You did it in dominating fashion. You don't think that fans here in Denver would love nothing else than to win a wild card game at home at Empower Field and to be able to move on to the next round? So I'm just saying, let's start to really wrap our mind around saying, hey, let's win this division. Let's go and host a playoff game. Let's go win a playoff game at home, and then let's move on up the ladder.
Yeah. Jordan, you were going to say something.
Yeah, and I think like the question I want to ask Justin is like, how much do you take into account preseason? Because like we saw the offensive line during preseason, they didn't have their best moments at all throughout the whole entire preseason. But with the sample size that we got last year from them, because it's the same exact offensive line coming back. Last year they were really good, in the preseason right now they didn't look that good. But again, there's a lot of debate on it's just preseason. The offense wasn't really showing much. How much do you take that into account?
I just want to see continuity. That's the number one thing you always want to see. And scrimmages, right? I mean, in preseason games, scrimmages, whatever you want to call it. And the reality is the joint practices have become so important that they really have superseded preseason games, right? And so the thing is how did they look in the joint practices? That's what I want to know, right? Like, what was the main thing about this team? Did they look crisp? Were they sharp? Well, what did the San Francisco 49ers say? Their first practice. These guys look good, right? Yeah. Bo Nix in another joint practice. He looked good, right? And so those are the takeaways that I have. Yes, you want to dominate in anytime you touch the field. Anytime you get between those white lines, you want to dominate on the field, right? And we didn't see that, like you just said, Jordan. You said astutely that we didn't see that in the preseason games. But in the joint practices, we did see what this team could do. So now it's just time to take that to the game against the Titans and then to Indianapolis and then to go forward from there with your biggest test being up against Cincinnati, right? And so we want to see how this team will respond when they go up against talent like that.
Yeah. And it's something to where, if you do you touched on it briefly, but it's like you do a comparison to last year, we saw some of that. It was like a tale of two seasons, right? Because like the preseason specifically, Ben Powers struggled in the preseason last year. And same thing kind of occurred, if you will, this year. Like Ben Powers struggled a little bit. And, but really, like once the regular season hit, it was like he was a completely different animal, right? And I will say, when we kind of like see the discussion and topic of, them going from an inside zone to an outside zone, that's probably one where maybe just the overall talking point of, should we be worried about the offensive line? Like, what would you say, like, as far as like the offensive line in terms of like the transition from the inside zone to the outside zone? Do you actually feel like there will be that much of a change schematically, or do you think that it's going to be pretty status quo?
I think anytime you change up anything with the offensive line, especially in today's day of football, it's going to take time. So, for example, if you were to ask the same question even a decade ago, I wouldn't have any worries because you're in pads so many more times. So you have more opportunities to be able to work against somebody else in pads, right? So be able to go and perfect that. Nowadays, you're limited in the time that you have in practice. And so that could take a little bit of time when you talk about game speed. But I think the benefit yet again for this team is having those two joint practices. And I know Sean Payton didn't like the second one, right? In particular to have that scheduled out. But I think it's going to pay dividends for this team, really so. And to take on a team like a Tennessee Titans, I'm not saying like they're a cupcake, but you put some frosting on them, that's what they are. And it gives you an opportunity to be able to go and perfect all the different things that you're working on. And then you take on more difficult teams. You're able to go on the road and to be able to really go and nail those things down. The main thing is this for this team is that once you get into October, you better be ready to roll because that's really when the schedule picks up. And so you got to get the gimmies that you have early on in the year, whether it's going on the outside zone and being able to go and perfect that, because once you play those top teams, you got to be ready to go and be at your best if you're going to win.
One of the more impressive things, if you will, that the Broncos did in terms of filling out their 53-man roster was in their practice squad. Actually, like they retained everybody.
Yeah.
For the most part, they made their own, cuts, but they didn't bring anybody in from the from the outside, or they're not waiting, to possibly bring someone in. Like they really wanted to make sure that they were keeping their own guys, which has been the theme for this team since last year, right? And we touched a little bit about the continuity and everything. I mean, I think it's over 80% continuity for this team, which is an absurd number. I mean, whether it's college football, whether it's any type of sport, when you have over 80% continuity, that is a ridiculous number. So looking at I actually can pull up
let's do that.
The 53-man roster over here. Justin, when you look at it, was there anything that was maybe in air quotes shocking to you?
Before we get to the shocking part, praise God, we have number one. Thank you, Lord, for a tight end who could do something in the passing.
Yes.
I mean, it just makes me feel so much better that we're able to go and finally have that taken care of. And so it is great. I like the running back situation that we have. I think it's great. Obviously, last week we had a trade. And so to see Pat Bryant be able to really go and step up, we knew that he was going to make the team. So offensively, to be able to see that, that's really huge. And you know what? With Marvin Mims leaving practice with a groin injury, that might become a lot more important than you think. And so hopefully Marvin Mims can be able to go and step up and be able to be healthy too. And so for me, and I know there was different guys who talked about where there's some surprises, right? You had a linebacker who was cut. But for me, I look at this roster and say, this is the way it should be. Like, this is the way that it should be. I think Damari Mathis being cut, I mean, you make it over $3 million and you're going to be the sixth cornerback. I mean, it's just a numbers game, right? And so glad to see that he was picked up by the Carolina Panthers. But I am impressed by the way that this defense look on paper. You tell me the holes. Like, you tell me where the hole at on this team is. They look very solid in every area. Now, here's the big thing. You got to make sure that you go and and make it happen on Sundays. And so we'll see what happens during the games. But man, having guys like Dre Greenlaw, man, Alex Singleton coming back from that knee injury, man, it's just Justice Sternard making plays too on the outside. Yeah. I mean, this team is solid. Now it's all about putting it all together and making sure that you perform well on Sundays.
Yeah, Brandon, Jordan.
Couldn't agree more about Evan Ingram. Like that play where he sprung for like, what was it, like 50 yards, 45 yards.
Yeah.
I just like had to remind myself that was a tight end because I hadn't seen that in, I don't even know,
10 years,
right? 10 years, a decade.
Can I give you one play, guys?
That's insane.
That I thought was a really
go for
good play by him. And I saw this on the All 22, right? And the All 22 is being able to see the camera up top and being able to see all the players on the field. There was a play last week against the Saints where it's a back shoulder throw to Cortland Sutton.
Oh, yep.
But if you look in the middle of the field, Evan Ingram gives, I don't know if it's a backer or a safety, he gives him a move, and he is wide open in the middle of the field. Now, wherever the progressions are, we don't know for Bo Nix. It took him to Cortland Sutton, first down, keep it moving. But when I see a move like that, it lets me know that, hey, you got another option. And you may not have that superstar wide receiver, that number one that everyone's talking about. But, man, you got somebody at tight end. And if you continue to keep Evan Ingram healthy, like I said again, this offense will open up for the first time that we have seen in a decade. They're going to be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that move he had on that safety was filthy. It was absolutely filthy. And I don't think, like, again, we don't know what the progressions were, but, I mean, Nix was, like, he's not used to having a tight end. I know he's only been in the league for a year, but, I mean, compared to last year's tight ends, I mean, that wasn't even in the read. But to be fair, Ingram is going to open up this offense a lot. I can't wait to see him week 1 against the Titans when we actually get to see the offense open it up even more. We get to see what they've been working on and stuff. But, yeah, it's the defense. This defense has been praised by literally everybody in the national media. Like, I cannot think of one person that has not talked about this defense. And the depth on this defense is pretty remarkable.
Guys, let me ask you this question real quick. And I love being able to ask. I know it's your show, so I'll let you do your thing.
Oh, you're good.
Jaquan McMillan and Jahdae Barron, at what point do you put your first-round pick in the game over Jaquan McMillan? Because McMillan is really, really good.
Yeah.
Like, at what point does that happen?
It's, I mean, probably, to say it first, it's a good problem to have, right? I mean, like, and obviously with Chris Abrams' drain, like, it's a good problem to have, but it's probably one where, I think there's some Bronco fans that are skeptical in the sense of like, well, shouldn't your first round pick be starting, in a sense. And I think that it's also about what are we going to have in terms of like the best possible situation for this team and specifically for this defense. And I think that, frankly, the way I would interpret it is that McMillan and Barron are going to end up being starters because they're probably going to rotate, and I know that Sean Payton, obviously when he speaks to Kay Adams, he literally divulges everything, but Kay asked him about, the Joker thing. And I think that one of the things that maybe people, didn't necessarily latch on to as much was when he was talking about this Joker idea. Obviously you mentioned Ingram, but he mentioned the defensive Jokers. And I think that Barron specifically is going to end up being like that, one of those like defensive Jokers, right? So I think that, to answer your question from my point of view, I wouldn't necessarily view it as like, Barron should be starting over McMillan or McMillan should be starting over, Barron. It's just they're both going to be starting. It's just I think that they're going to probably be using Barron for that chess piece in the secondary.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. Golly, this team. Guys, can you just relax and just look at this roster for a little bit? I mean, my God. Because, again, we would have killed to have this in 17, 18. COVID. Any year, right?
2013, was it 2013, 2014? The year that the famous Ravens year. Yeah.
I mean, when you're able to have a discussion about like how are you going to get your first round pick on the field like that, I mean, that's kind of a good thing. Like, honestly,
it is a good.
Like there's no holes on this roster. It's kind of like, okay, what are we going to do with Jahdae Barron? Who is wide receiver 3, I guess. And that's kind of it, right? Like, I guess like who's going to be your starter at running back? Although it's not even like, but based on what we know about Sean Payton, it's not even like going to be a workhorse. It's going to be like a committee situation. But I mean, those are good problems to have for sure. Talking about Jade Barron real quick, which I still don't know if it's Jade. I don't know. I've heard both ways, but I think it's really going to be interesting to watch. I think one of the things that it will be intriguing to me, we talked about this last week, is where do they try to play him? Because like if you want to have McMillan out there, or maybe McMillan is going to play more snaps than we're expecting, and Barron isn't going to totally take his spot, are you going to see Barron play maybe some more at safety even? Like, are they going to try to spell Hufanga a little bit because he has that history of injury and not make him play, 90% of the snaps and kind of give him more of a breather, keep him healthy longer and get Barron out there a little bit and have them both on the field? Maybe it's like a little bit of both, but I think having Barron be kind of that flex star, almost like the star in the secondary, I think is going to be incredibly fun to watch, but really interesting to see how that plays out. Because I mean, I agree. Like, I don't really know. I think it's going to be both. I think you might see Barron a little bit at safety. Are you going to do that thing where you try to have him play too many things at once and he's kind of overwhelmed? I don't know, but that's going to be really interesting. But that's a good problem to have. Like, it's just like the fact that you don't know where your 20th overall pick player is going to fit on this roster just tells you like how good the roster is.
It also tells you how great the depth is as well. And that's really the biggest thing for this team, because injuries will come. Guys will be out for a couple of weeks. Hopefully you don't see any season-ending injuries, right? But you now have the depth on your roster to be able to say, we're good. Like, no, we're okay. Like, we'll be all right. And so that's really what this team is all about. And shout out to George Payton for doing a tremendous job of really building up this roster and giving the Broncos their best chance to win in a long, long time. And anytime you're able to do that with your 53, and like you guys talked about earlier, with also your practice squad, and have the same consistency that you will have on the roster, makes you a tough team to be able to defeat on Sundays.
Justin, I want to ask you a quick question.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just want to ask Justin a quick question. Are we going to see this team, especially the defense, are we going to see the defense more in a dime package than we did last year?
Let me give you a story real quick, because I always think initially you want to be in nickel, right? Because that's where you have your 2 backers, you have your 5 DBs. I think initially you want to go and be that. You don't want to force yourself being in dime when you don't particularly have to, right? But it does give you a lot of speed. Now, what it doesn't give you is you are light in the fanny when it comes to being in the box. Right now, you just have 6 in the box. And so teams will then say, okay, we'll run the ball on you, and I will trust one of my guys to block one of your cornerbacks, right? But what it also gives you the opportunity to is, if you're in dime a lot, what does that mean? That means that your defense is doing their job up front. And that means they're set up a lot of third down and longs. And now you have a lot of speed on the field. And now you're giving Vance Joseph the chance to be able to go into his toolbox and be able to pull out a couple of tricks and be able to go after the quarterback. And we know that's what Vance Joseph really wants to do too. So if we do see a lot of dime this year, it is because of the success that this team has on first and second down, which will leave them to be able to have an extra DB out on the field on third down.
Yeah, the other I guess connection in terms of the whole Barron thing is, well, there's another Vance Joseph or Joseph connection, because down there at Texas, his other brother, not the Mickey Joseph, who went to Nebraska, not that connection, but
not that guy. We'll leave him out. We'll go.
Yeah, but Terry Joseph, who was with Texas. So yeah, so he, I would venture to say though that Joseph knows him quite well. Yeah. So, go ahead.
I just saw that Evan Ingram route against the Saints.
Yeah.
That's a 6'3", 240-pound man doing that.
Yeah.
Well,
it doesn't look natural, man. How is that possible?
Trust, like it's so. I played, I played tight end in college and at the University of Colorado, go Buffs, and
the big red.
but when I saw that, I was just like, I thought that was a wide receiver initially. I'm like, is that a wide receiver doing that? Because that makes sense. It doesn't make sense to see a tight end doing that. And so it was just man. Look,
so
get the ball at your hands, man.
So with you playing tight end, I have to ask, because one of the things I've been so impressed with, and I know we're kind of focusing a little bit on Evan Ingram, but I will say, and we talked about this on the show, is like one of the things that I've been so impressed with Evan Ingram, and I don't really, and you do, at least from my point of view, you don't see it often with a tight end. He is 6'3", but he runs so low to the ground. He doesn't appear 6'3". How often are tight ends taught to run low to the ground? Or is it just something that, like, maybe Evan Ingram and, maybe in conversations that you've had with him, like, is it just something where he inherited it, like, over, numerous practices over the years? Because, like, it is pretty impressive to see him run so low to the ground. And I think it's one that will help him certainly down the line.
Yeah, he's just an athlete, so he's able to do so. And a lot of times you see tight ends as, right, 6'6", 245, 250, maybe 255, and they're just big and lumbering. Or that just describes the tight ends that we had last year, right? And so, I mean, it's one thing when you bring in that extra sauce to a player, and that's what Ingram has, to be able to be low, to be able to get out of his breaks the way that he is, to be able to take a simple 5-yard pass and take it 50 plus, right? That's the things that, again, we haven't seen here in a while. And so you could teach it, you could go over it as many times as you want. There are some things that just can't be taught, and either you have it or you don't. And Evan Ingram is one of those guys that has it. But you know what that does, though? It makes Nate Atkins better. It makes Louis better. It makes Adam Trotman better, right? Because now your defense has to now focus on them, and it leaves one of the other tight ends open as well. It leaves one of the other wide receivers open. And so that's why you want to make sure you have that piece into your lineup. And that's why the Joker piece is so important to Sean Payton's offense.
Obviously, we are talking about the positives, if you will, of the 53-man roster. But, Justin, and Jordan and Brandon, like, what are maybe some of your gripes? And obviously the practice squad is filled now. And we should also clarify, this will not be the final 53 by, season's end, or possibly even as we, get close to week 1. But, like, what are your, like, very, like, initial 48 hours, 24 hours gripes, if you will, with the 53?
So I'll start, fellas. I wish you would have had, as much as I love Jahdae Barrett, and again, I don't want to go all the way back to draft night, I would have loved to be able to have a wide receiver that that you're going to go to. And I know you just re-signed Cortland Sutton, and I know that's the number 1 wide receiver and will be here for a couple of years. But I would have loved to be able to have that surefire other wide receiver on the opposite side. And maybe Troy Franklin will become that guy by the end of the year. But I would have loved to be able to go and have that, to be able to go and beef up things offensively so that Bo Nix can continue to go and grow and mature as a quarterback. So that's really my deepest gripe. Even with the great depth that we have defensively, obviously you're 1 or 2 injuries away from linebacker from being really average very quickly. And so, you hope Dre Greenlaw can stay healthy. Generally, as we know in the game of football, I mean, it's a sport where you will get injured. But generally, when you suffer a serious injury, it kind of comes up over and over again. And so, not saying injury prone, but you want to try to stay away from that as much as possible. So hopefully the depth will be able to hold up, because if not, then this strong defense that you have right up front, it could suffer some real holes, and teams could be able to go in, really go and execute against you.
You're kind of preaching to the choir, I should say, of specifically Jordan, but Brandon and I guess myself, because this particular pod, as we were kind of like entering draft season, it had been, obviously it's mainly Broncos, but like when it was draft season this year, it was like mainly Igbuka, because like he was our favorite guy for pick 20. So we love the Baron pick. We certainly love the Baron pick. We were kind of in lockstep with you that we do wonder if what Egbuka would have been like, because he does feel like that carbon copy wide receiver, that Sean possibly would have fell in love with.
Yeah, I agree, 100% agree. But again, if your defense is who they say they are, and you're able to go and get that dime package out there and be able to get after the quarterback, you get interceptions, have at it.
Yeah. You did mention Franklin. And you've been out there at practice and training camp. It certainly seems like there's, aside from the number change, but it seems like he's the confidence is there, and maybe it's the aesthetic of the new number, but he also looks bigger. And where are you with Troy Franklin taking that step? So obviously Troy Franklin is confident that he can take that next step. But what about Justin? Like, are you confident that Troy Franklin will in fact take that step? Because I think that, like, the one question we always ask ourselves on this show is, if Bo Nix was not here and they drafted Troy Franklin, would we be having the same type of confidence heading into this particular year? I mean, we probably would be having some confidence, but we would probably be not having the same amount of confidence, if you will, that we're having now. So where is your confidence level at?
Well, first of all, will we have this level of confidence that Teddy Bridgewater was the quarterback? Or will we have that same names that we have? From my man Teddy B.
Hey man, Teddy B. I would have had some confidence in Teddy B.
I would have had some confidence too, but I mean, not a lot.
A
lot of confidence.
I'm not thinking he's gonna, win a playoff game,
right.
But I think Teddy B's all right. He's good.
He'll get you there. He'll get you to promised land, and promised land being on the cusp of the playoffs. Baby.
He'll get you to almost the wild card round.
There you go. We'll take that.
That's better than we had.
It is. It's a lot better than what we had. I you know what? I would say this is that it seems like with Troy Franklin, it is the maturation of a player. That's what it is. It seems like a guy who went through the first year trying to figure it out, a 4th round pick, and a switch hit. And a switch hit in the offseason. He was able to go back and have some successes, and now he looks like a completely different player in the preseason and in training camp. And so I was really impressed by seeing what he did in the second preseason game, getting those 2 touchdown catches, especially one guy and just ripping the ball away. He looks faster. Confidence, yes, for sure. Running great routes as well. But I would say again, and I'm not going to make this an Evan Ingram show, but because I love my tight ends. But it's just, again, this is what happens when you have another weapon on the field.
Yeah.
So now you look at Troy Franklin and say, we could single up. And there were several times that he was open last year, right? There were several passes that he dropped that should have been touchdowns that he dropped last year. So this is not new for him being open. This is not new for him being a guy that can make plays. It's just now he's finally doing it. And he's doing it in a way that really shows out on the field. And so can he continue on is my question. That's the biggest thing for him. Can he continue on? Or will it be a guy like Pat Bryant that will pass him up?
You're preaching to the choir of the people in the left corner and the bottom right. We're trying our hardest to convince the guy over there in the top right to be Pat Bryant's biggest fan.
Hey,
but
hey, Pat Bryant's bigger. He's not faster, but he does his thing. And when you have a big target like that, I'm telling you, especially when you play against those sticky DBs that you'll have against Kansas City. Baltimore has him now. To have a guy with a big wingspan that can snatch the ball away is going to be very important for this team.
Yeah. Brandon Jordan.
You have 2 of them now. Going back to the depth, kind of depth discussion and the concerns with the 53. The only 2 things that really stood out to me, I guess kind of 3, but one of them is really nitpicky, which I guess I'll start with that one. The offensive line depth also is concerning. We'll just say that. And then specifically, even Luke Wattenberg has not looked great.
That was going to be my
Yeah.
My point.
Yeah, and the depth on the offensive line, and the reason it's a little nitpicky is like almost no team, unless you're the Eagles, have good depth on the offensive line. There's just not enough guys. But Garrett Bowles is not young, so that's just a tad concerning. And then honestly, same thing at safety is Hufanga has a history of injury. I also don't want to say injury prone, but just the way that he plays, like super physical guy. You kind of expect him to get at least a little banged up in the season. And then the guys behind him, Brandon Jones, like honestly so good, like absolute underrated, one of the most underrated safeties, I think, in the league. And he showed out last year. Great signing for us last year. But behind him, Key Locke. I mean, Locke, I know, was basically injured all last year, but I guess he's an okay backup guy, but just of those three, Key, Locke, and Skinner, who we still just haven't seen enough of, I'm just a little concerned about if anything happens in the safety room as well. The kind of unknown depth there. And then the third thing is not even like really a 53 and like depth issue. It's more just like the way that the decision was made around punter. I like Jeremy Crawshaw, but you can't tell me you saw, maybe he just like somehow looked so much better in camp and practice, but you can't tell me if he played the way he played in the preseason in camp, how do you see that and not bring in any competition at all? Like, I'm just confused. Yeah. That's not something you want to have if you're a team with like vocalized Super Bowl aspirations. You can't have a poor punter. Like, and nothing against Crawshaw, but he did not look good. He just didn't look good. And like, we already cut Caleb Lohner, so it's not even like a thing of, well, you drafted me, got to keep him. Just bring in competition at least. Like, do something, show something, make him earn it. Maybe have someone else that could take that from him, and that could still be happening. You never know. But I'm just confused that it's kind of just been him. And obviously there's only one punter on the 53, but just like the lack of competition that was brought in, and just like we just kind of gave it to him. Just like, yeah, you're on the 53. Just as that was questionable to me.
Yeah, it's almost like the front office is trying to prove that he's a good player.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, we drafted him, we believe in him. Yeah. We're gonna force you to see what we saw, even if he's not the highest performer. It's just like, what?
But it comes back to another thing where, man, it's those secret yards that could win you or lose you a game. It's
death by inches.
Yeah, I mean, dude, seriously. Well, think about this, guys. How long does it take really to get 3 points nowadays? I mean, if you get the ball at the 25, what's 3 first downs nowadays, and you're in field goal range? 3.5 first downs?
I mean, to play against some of these teams in the AFC, give it 5 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, and especially at Empower Field at elevation, a 57-yarder is not that far anymore. So you can't be a team that could pin teams within the 10. And if you can't be a guy that truly can flip the field, then that's a huge liability to not just your defense, to your team. And look, it's the NFL. There are close games all the time in the NFL. You do not want to lose a game because you lost field position because your punter that you drafted didn't do his job. So you got to make sure that you go and have the right guy out there. So, give Crawshaw his opportunity, you give him a chance. And I would say, man, you got to make that a short leash, though.
We were 1-6 in one-score games last year, and we didn't think we got to do something to like tighten this up in close games. Right.
And it should have been 2-5 if we actually blocked.
I mean, that's if we kicked a field goal, that's fair. Yeah. But still, it is a legitimate stat, and it is legitimately what harmed you last season, even though you got to the postseason. I do want to go and talk about one other thing. I think Mike McGlinchey is another thing to keep an eye on, right? When you talk about a depth piece that is getting older. Obviously, early in training camp, he spent some time not playing, and so with a little nagging injury. So
we can look at this roster and say, really point out things. Well, hey, maybe is he really all that good, and is he going to stay healthy? But that is a big one for me. Is McGlinchey is just on the right side? Is he going to be able to play the full allotment of games that we have this year? Because I mean, let's be honest, the Broncos have been very fortunate and very lucky, especially last year when it comes to injuries. And when you're a type of team that is able to go and be very, very lucky to go deep in the season and not have a lot of serious injuries, that's a great thing. You truly pray that it will continue on this year as well.
Yeah, I guess one of my 53 gripes, if you will, in regards to the offensive line was you had the possibility of guard play, if you will, with Wattenberg and Forsythe, because Forsythe has shown the ability to play guard. But I think that I was a bit surprised that they didn't have maybe another guard piece, on this offensive line. Man, and when I say that, I mean like specifically Calvin Throckmorton. And obviously, I would venture to guess that's probably going to be changing. That's speculative on my part because he was signed to the practice squad, and I have a sense, if you will, just a hunch, if you will, that he'll probably be on the 53 before week 1. But it's just that's probably one of my initial gripes is I would have figured that Calvin Throckmorton would have been one of the offensive linemen that would have been part of the group. But
it goes back down to what you said earlier. What you see right now might not be what you will see on Sunday. And we see it all the time in the NFL. But it goes back to another point that you guys talked about earlier, which is huge. At least you were able to keep him and you were able to put him on the practice squad. So now it's almost like you have a third team, right? Another layer of depth that you have on this roster. So good to be able to go and have Throckmorton at least there. And we'll see what happens on game day. We'll see changes all the time, especially depending on what team you're going against.
Yeah. And going real quick back to the offensive line depth discussion, our buddy Sarah said Monday that Broncos have 5 picks in the first 4 rounds next year. I want 3 offensive linemen among them. Don't care what order. Couldn't agree more. It's exactly what we need.
Take the fat
a great offensive lineman.
Yeah. Hey, fat people need love too, okay?
I want us to set a record for heaviest combined draft class in NFL history.
I would love as long as they can dance now, as long as they can move their feet around.
They gotta be able to move, but
they gotta be able to boogie, man.
It's gonna be a good tackle class.
Look, if you can't tango, I don't want you.
Allegedly.
Move your feet around. I'd love to have you.
Yeah. So moving forward to the practice squad, they kept basically everybody, or at least tried to keep everybody. You can have, I believe it's 16 max players on your practice squad. I know this has been a big gripe for Jordan, specifically, but I think that it's true in the sense probably the initial takeaway for myself and possibly Brandon was, I guess it's truly the reactionary of it, but it's one of those what was the point of the undrafted wide receiver pool? You really didn't keep anybody.
Camp bodies. You need camp bodies. Run around.
Right? But Michael Bandy, he's been here for the last 4 years. He's like the Jordan Taylor now of this Broncos team. But he's a mainstay. Of this practice squad. But Joaquin Davis, we thought was a very traitsy wide receiver, that you could probably stash on your practice squad at least. He moved on. Jerwan Newton had some really nice moments with Ellinger, and even in the preseason at times. He moved on. And obviously Courtney Jackson, had some really nice special teams moments, and some really nice catch. I believe it was in the Saints game, or maybe that was Newton, but he, had some nice moments in the preseason. He moved on. He was actually, I think, what was it Mike Kliss said today? He was hoping to sign with the Broncos, but they didn't offer him, which I think is a very interesting thing. So I guess to go off of that, were you surprised to see the Broncos chose not to keep any of those 3 wide receivers.
Yeah, especially on the practice squad. Like, why wouldn't you keep any of those guys around? Because you know what they can do. And I know we just talked about how, preseason games aren't the utmost important thing in the world, but they showed you what they can do. Not to be able to keep either one of those guys is very, very surprising to me. I think on the other side, too, then it just talks about the depth that you have in the active roster, right? And so that you just say, hey, we believe in the guys that we have, that even if one goes down, we'll be fine. But man, it would have been nice to keep one of those wide receivers. I mean, you just pick them. You just pick one. It's like Uno cards. Just pick one. It would have been nice to be able to have one of those guys still lying around. But it's just the realities of the NFL. They want to go play somewhere else too. And if you're not able to go and keep those guys, then hopefully you get fortunate to be able to pick somebody else up if you do have to deal, or if you do have injuries to deal with throughout the season.
No. Jordan, do you have something to say regarding that?
I mean, I was very, very. I mean, I even our guy Cody Rourke had projected Joaquin Davis to make the 53 just because they were or he was skeptical that maybe someone else will pick him up if we were to drop him. Like the physical traits that Joaquin Davis possesses is very, very rare. I mean, to be 6'4", nearly 6'5", and run that well at that size, and especially after just trading a Devon Vele who has a similar size and prototype like that, you would want to keep a guy like that on your practice squad. But that was very, very weird to me when I got that news today.
Agreed.
No. What about you, Brandon?
I had a little bit of a different reaction when this came up in the group chat, and I didn't realize they were talking about practice squad because they were like, I can't believe we didn't keep any undrafted free agent wide receivers. And in my mind, I was thinking about the 53. And to me, it's like, okay, well, you brought some guys in for competition, but you didn't know that you were going to see that much of a jump from Troy Franklin. You didn't know that Marvin Mims was going to look like more than a gadget player. You didn't know what Pat Bryant was going to look like. You didn't know Trent Sherfield was going to show up and be a dude, right? So it's kind of like, well, there's not really much room left, but no, not keeping any on the practice squad, that's a little weird. I mean, I guess you could just say that you liked those other 16 players more, but there was some pretty promising wide receivers in that undrafted free agent class. I thought at least, I mean, honestly, I was thinking Courtney Jackson or Newton or Joaquin Davis was maybe even going to make the 53, and I'm shocked that none of them are even on the practice squad.
Or even just the fact that there was some decent, wide receivers that were released that, you could possibly stash on the practice squad and, move on, up, like Trey Palmer, who went to the University of Nebraska. Anyway, but but he ended up going to the New Orleans Saints, but But no, I think it was a bit surprising. Obviously, one of the big things has been the quarterback room. And the idea of whether they keep 2 quarterbacks or do they keep 3. Obviously, Sam Ehlinger played well enough to possibly be considered, for the third quarterback on this team. And obviously, I feel like there's like an underbelly talking point above this with Ehlinger. But, so Ehlinger chose the Broncos over 2 teams for the 53-man roster. And I think that, the talking point, just overall is just that I think it just speaks to the volume of where the Broncos have come in the last 8 years. Like, Sam Ehlinger choosing the Broncos, knowing the fact that he's probably not going to end up being your starter and, being your quarterback 3. He could be your quarterback 3 for any other football team if he wanted to. But instead, he chose to be with the Broncos. And I think it goes back to the foundation of where things have been laid from top to bottom. And the fact that Sam chose the Broncos, I think it speaks volumes to where the Broncos are since 2016, for that matter.
Cam, can I make an argument that this is similar to what we saw with Zach Allen last year?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Can I make that argument?
Yeah.
The same way where you had a guy who was being
Zach Wilson, you mean, not Zach Allen.
Wilson. I was thinking Wilson. It's late. Forgive me. I've been up for a while. But I mean, I remember conversations of hearing where it was just, Sean Payton saying, "Hey, my job is to help you get another job, right? My job is to help you make sure that you're a millionaire, right? Like, I'm going to coach you up that way. You tell me that you don't want to be around a guy like that, right?" That's what Ellender was able to go and see as well. I mean, it could have been one of his reason why he decided to stay here was, hey, I'm going to be a guy who's going to be coached up. And I understand that, yeah, we're just a couple of snaps away from me actually being in the game. And so this gives me the best opportunity to mature as a passer myself to be here rather than going to another team, learning a whole new playbook, and maybe I get the chance to be on the field. I know the playbook here. I know the coaching staff here, and I know the investment that they make on the quarterbacks. This is the place for me to be. And so he also likes the quarterback room too. So I think that was a wise decision that he made, and it's going to pay dividends in his career.
Real quick on that, especially quarterbacks, like they just love that honesty when it comes to like that quarterback coach relationship.
Yes.
No one. You can argue other coaches can have that relationship, but like Sean Payne, it doesn't come any better than that when it comes to Sean Payne.
Not sugarcoat
relationship. I mean, again, you mentioned Zach Wilson last year. Sam Ehlinger literally could have been a backup somewhere else on a 53-man roster spot, yet chose to be with Denver on the practice squad. And let's not forget, and Sean Payne is probably the biggest talking point in this, but there's somebody else in that quarterback room that probably played a big factor in this, and that's Davis Webb.
Yeah.
Davis Webb has been the ultimate superstar in that coaching staff. And I know that's later down the line of, hey, how are we going to keep him around in the staff? Because I know he has a very bright future in the business. But, man, that when you have someone like a Sean Payne and a Davis Webb in that room with you almost every single day talking ball and just trying to develop you, I mean, there's no way. It's hard to say no to that.
Yeah, I'm trying to get on the Davis Webb fan club right now because he's going to be a head coach somewhere. So I'm trying to go and make six figures by just being on the staff. Okay. So Davis Webb, look, man, I know I'm a broadcaster right now, doing a pretty good job, by the way. I'm very happy, but you should be a lot happier than your coach. Okay, so when you get that head coaching job, look me up. I'm right here, man. I'm your favorite buff right here waiting for you, okay?
Yeah. Or better yet, Walton, you can pony up and maybe give him a bit of a raise, give him a bit of a bump, or reset the coaching staff salary, like keep him on staff, maybe.
Easily. Or, just pay Nick Bonito. Like small things like that. We're going to take care of all the things right now, I'll take a little bit of that money too. So just a big sweet.
Just a smidge.
Yeah.
Just a smidge. So I and then going forward with the the practice squad, one of the other, I guess, big takeaways, was the linebacker room. And I guess we obviously we pulled up the 53. One linebacker, I guess, in particular that we thought was going to end up being a part of this, or the idea of them maybe even keeping 5, was a guy who really surged late, or I shouldn't even say late, but surged last year in Lavelle Bailey. And we kind of thought that he was going to end up making that 53-man roster. Well, in a surprise, if you will, in terms of a surprise, he was released. And then I guess the shocker was he was not claimed by anyone else.
That's crazy.
And that he actually went through every single claim for teams and wasn't claimed, and the Broncos signed him. In fact, they have 3 linebackers on the practice squad. I think if you're probably looking at the practice squad, that might be one specific area where they're probably not going to be having 3 linebackers, I don't think, on the practice squad. But I gotta say, for me specifically, Justin, I was super impressed overall though with the linebacker core. I know we talk about like the health of Dre Greenlaw, the health of Alex Singleton is the coming into the season, specifically our 2 starters. But I will say, like, from the preseason side of things, and it was just preseason and specifically even training camp when you were there, but like the emergence of guys like a Karen Reed, a Lavelle Bailey, a Jordan Turner, who really flew under the radar. I thought that obviously it's early, and I said it's preseason, it's training camp. I feel semi-comfortable knowing the fact about where things are, for that linebacker room.
I do too. And I feel like, obviously, when we talked about the depth piece, where you talk about possible injuries, I mean, you have two guys who are your starters who have come back from injuries, right? Dre Greenlaw come back from Achilles. You also have Alex Singleton coming back from an ACL, right? And so it's one of those portions where you look at it and say, no, you didn't make the initial, and I mean this, initial 53, but you are truly right there. Like you are honestly a slip here, an injury there, a nick there from being into the game. So if I'm a guy like Lavelle Bailey, I'm taking this as I'm actually really a part of this roster because of the injury history some of these guys have on the roster. And so that's why it's so important to be able to retain these players that you have, the Baileys of the world, right? Another thing too, guys, that we forget, special teams. Kickoff is so much different than it used to be, obviously. And so you have to have guys in that build, being a linebacker, to be able to go down and keep a guy within the 25-yard line, to keep a returner within the 20 if you can, right? To be able to go and be on special teams where it's punt protection, punt rush. You want to have those type of guys on your roster. And so you don't want to use your starter to go and have them out there on those very important plays in special teams. So that's why it's important to make sure that you go and retain, at least on the practice squad, a guy like a Lavelle Bailey.
Yeah. What about you guys, Jordan and Brandon?
Go ahead, B.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this earlier when we talked about the concern with the depth at linebacker. So I think having someone who's shown some promise and some flashes. So, I mean, I'm honestly kind of surprised he wasn't on 53. Still around to be able to be elevated if needed, or just be available if we do have an injury on the linebacker room is helpful. I'm still concerned it's just not enough. But I do like Lavelle Bailey. I think he's showed some nice traits. He flashed. He's a developmental linebacker. I don't know how long he will last on the practice squad. I'm honestly even surprised he made it to the practice squad is the other concern. But I definitely think having someone like that available for now is really nice. But I just still have some concerns.
I think Bailey is going to get elevated on game days, especially week one. Like I don't think we're going to carry seven defensive linemen going into week one. I think one of them is going to be a game day inactive, and I think the one replacing would be Bailey going up. I just find it hard that we're going to go in 7 deep, especially at defensive line. Week one, I think we could go 6 deep. I mean, that defensive line is loaded as it is.
Yeah.
But just Bailey being the 5th linebacker, whether it's for special teams or Reed being a special teams guy and Bailey getting some snaps at linebacker, you never know. But I'm fully expecting Bailey to be in uniform week one against the Titans.
I love the way Victory Lap Man is talking, man. It's got to be the deepest Denver team. On paper, everything looks deep. On paper, everything looks great. It's all about what happens when you get on the field.
Yeah, 100%. Probably one of the last things to talk about is a guy that, I guess all in terms of conversation with some people on Broncos Twitter is a 7th round pick by the name of Caleb Lawner. He was waived, but he was brought back, to the practice squad. What has been maybe the things that has impressed you the most with Caleb? Obviously he's new to the game, if you will. Like, he is transitioning from basketball, and it's clear that Sean invested in him to take him. But it was one where it's dart throw. They don't call those a dart throw for nothing, if you will. So what has been probably the part that's impressed you the most about him and being a fellow tight end yourself?
Man, don't make me smile talking about my tight ends, okay? All right, just stop making me so happy about talking about this young man. And I think it's just impressive by the way that he's been able to play. And we all knew that this was going to be a developmental project for this young man to see him. But he made plays against my Buffs last year, and he boxed out if I remember correctly, he boxed out one DB and was just like, throw me the ball, and did
Good
so.
DB.
Yeah, really good DB. And so it's just like, hey, give me the rock. It won't be the first time and the last time that we have seen somebody who is a traditionally basketball player step into the NFL and be able to go and make some things happen. Actually, the last tight end that we all seen in a Broncos uniform do something at a wide level was kind of that build. And if we remember correctly, it took a couple of years before was able to go get on the field and make things happen. So I think that this is a perfect place for him to be, to continue to go and grow and mature as a player. My biggest thing is not the catching. It's always the blocking. And that's where you need to grow. Can you go and stick your face into somebody else's chest and be a really good blocker? Can you go and be that consistent piece on the outside where we can say we can trust you wherever we put you, that we know we could run outside of you? We trust that you're going to go and move furniture, right? You're going to move the line. You're not going to be a leak on the line. That's really my biggest thing that I want to see Caleb learn to continue to grow at is his blocking. But other than that, he has all the pieces. He has all the tools. Now it's just to be able to go and put it all together. And thankfully, you're at a position where you now get a chance to continue to improve. That's what the practice squad is for.
Yeah. Paul, Pierscorn is not on the practice squad. You could actually argue he fumbled it away with, the touchdown that should have been touchdown, but instead he Jonathan Taylored it. Let's just say, he Melvin Gordoned it, one of the two. Like it, depending on how you want to, twist it. But he is not on the practice squad. Jordan is a basketball travel coach, and so he knows all about the basketball, if you will. Maybe not transition to football, but he knows about playing basketball and everything. And so, but yeah, I think that I guess really the biggest thing for Loner would be you just pray that no team, with the amount of research that all 31 other teams have, or 32 still with Denver, you just pray that no team comes in and swoops Caleb Loner up, and has him on their practice squad or everything. But but nonetheless, I mean, it is perfect. Like it is perfect in the sense for Loner to really just learn and grow and really become that tight end that Sean really wants out of him. So, so moving forward, just real quickly to the season, and just for you, Justin, what as we're kind of rounding down the show, what is your record prediction? What is your overall feeling? I know we touched a bit about it on the expectations nationally from the media, but
yeah,
I
mean, this screams 11-6, 12-5, doesn't it? Like this screams that type of season for the Broncos. It all comes down to Bo Nix at the end of the day. What type of quarterback are we going to see? Are we going to see him continue to mature? Are we going to see the Bo Nix that we saw in the second half of the season, or do we have hiccups like we saw in the first two games where it was interceptions galore? He finally got a touchdown, and it felt like a heart attack that he did it. So that's really my thing for this team. What is it going to be for this roster? I will say J.K. Dobbins is a huge piece as well for this offense. It's going to settle a lot of things down. And, oh, by the way, he's going to help out in pass pro. That's a big, big deal to be able to have him. I think anytime that your roster has Jaleel McLaughlin pretty much as your fourth running back, it kind of lets you know how good this team is and how well constructed this team will be. It all comes down to injuries. Can you be able to keep your guys healthy? Can your offensive line and your defensive line be able to do what they're supposed to do? If they are and they can stay healthy, this will be a very successful team, because I don't see many teams in the NFL that have both that strong of offense and that strong of a defensive line as the Broncos do.
Yeah. Jordan and Brent, I know we've given our record predictions and everything, but I mean, we feel pretty confident, right? 11-6. Vegas smartly, I guess this time, has the over/under at like 9.5.
Wow.
Which is I guess is probably smart, knowing the fact that they had them at 5 last year.
Yeah, last year they got rinsed last year.
Oh man, that was stealing money, man. I was like, boy, we about to get some Pampers today. Man, I was good with that.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my 11 to 12 range. I think anything less, if they don't get double-digit wins, you can count it as a failure of a season. But I think they're easily going to get 10 wins. Now it's just the matter of the fact of can we get 11, 12, maybe even take over the West. The hype surrounding Denver is nice. The amount of people picking us to win the West is a bit concerning because I like to be a little bit under the radar. But nonetheless, the hype around this team is at an all-time high. The Broncos fever has reached a high that we haven't had in a while. And, it's refreshing to see all these good things talked about our team because we haven't had nothing to talk about in probably a decade. But now it's starting to get a little bit more, concerning. Just calm down a bit.
Yeah.
I'm staying with the 11, 12 range as well. I'm not going to go crazy. I think realistically, like 1 or 2 more wins than last year would be a success to me. Like even if we can just win one playoff game, I would love that. I'm not going to say like we're going to the AFC Championship, we're going to the Super Bowl, but just win a playoff game. I think you can win maybe 1 more or 2 more games than last year. I'd be happy with that. Just show me some growth and progression, specifically from Bo, which I think is definitely feasible, and I think more likely than not that we'll see that. So I'm excited, but I'm not going to go crazy.
Yeah, I think that what's hard for me in doing like the 12-5, or maybe even some people that do like the 13-4, it's like it's hard for me because I guess like no, in the sense of like just the 12-5 feels like boundary first seed.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's wrong or anything, but it's just it feels also boundary first seed. So, and it's also rare in the sense of like, the NFC North last year had 3 teams that were like obviously 11 or more wins, that is very rare. Yeah. And we might see that with the AFC West, but I just think that obviously, I think I did say 12-5, but it's at least early on. But it's one where it's like as long as they hit 10, yes. I feel like that's, I wouldn't say a guarantee, but like you're at least assured a very competitive spot to get into the playoffs. If you get to 11, I would venture guess you're getting in. Yeah. You just may need some bounces here and there to get in, into the playoffs, but. I mean, as long as you get into the playoffs, really, it's everything we were saying. That's all that matters. That is all that matters, and you win that playoff game.
Do you guys see them winning division? Because I get the feeling this is still a wild card to you.
It is still a wild card team for me. It's probably one of those things. Like it's probably the thing that's been that way for like the last couple of years with the Broncos and Chiefs. But it's getting closer, right? It's getting closer, and it's one where until they actually sweep the Chiefs. It's I'm not going to be saying they'll be sweeping the Chiefs this year as much as it's bold and everything to say it. I do think though that in terms of the division and possibly being a competitor for them to win, you got to be at least 4-2 in division.
Agreed.
Man, I wish we played in the AFC South and not the AFC West. Jeez.
Or the NFC South again.
Yeah. That was great. Why does the South suck? Usually South is awesome. God, they're terrible. So, figure it out. Figure out a way how to be able to go win. And you may, honestly, Cam, you say 11 wins, that might win you the division. Right? Everybody's going to beat everybody up. Like, aren't this cakewalk, right? And so everybody's going to beat each other up. So that 11 wins, depending on how tiebreakers and everything go, that could be. It's just again why the first 2 games you gotta get the first 2 games. Like there's no other way about it. Like you gotta go get those first 2 games because the rest of the schedule they got some dogs in there. So make sure you go and take care of business.
I mean, the good news is they're going up against one terrible quarterback in week 1.
Don't you dare. He's got a bad team around him. All right, we're gonna make him move that garbage, even though his team.
Yeah. Jordan, I'm a believer, man. I'm a believer. He's going to turn things around, man.
Yeah, it's just that team is just roof. That team is brutal.
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah. But no, it's going to be a lot of fun. Broncos country is at an all-time high, and it's going to be exciting. I have one final question for you, Justin. It's actually not. It may be a sports-related answer, maybe not a sports-related answer. You do a lot of stories for CBS, CBS 4 Local.
Yeah.
Whether it's news or whether it's sports.
Mm-hmm.
What, and maybe this is a hard question to ask, but what is the best or the most fun story you have ever done so far to date?
The best story that I've ever done to date. Wow, there's a lot. And my son and my daughter is going to come through the office doors right now because I can see him over my shoulder. So, yeah, they kind of look and they know when daddy's on air, like not to come in, but they consistently come in, which is hilarious. That is a great question. Breaking Deion Sanders, his contract. I had that. Actually, I had his contract before it was announced about. Let's see, it was announced on Saturday. He was going to be the head coach. I knew everything about it on Wednesday evening.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. Yeah, it's interesting because it's two sides, honestly, Cam. When I look at that, I look at the successes, I look at the amazing stories, and I look at the heartbreaks as well. Like I was the first reporter at Club Q from our station, and so to be able to go down there was very tough to be able to see.
Yeah.
I remember the fire in Boulder, right, where you literally saw the fire go all the way to Superior and Louisville, and to be able to come the next day and to see charred vehicles, to see that. My dad was in the school shooting when it happened at Denver East, and I remember reporting on that. And so those are the things where you look and say, dang, man, those are stories that I've been a part of. But I've also seen wonderful successes as well. DJ Fedor is a story that really stands out to me when he's the first Colorado Buffaloes. He's the first DJ to be in the locker room for the Colorado Buffaloes, right? And so to be able to talk about him was a blessing. But my favorite story, and if there's one legacy story that I have, was getting Theodore Bubbles Anderson into the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame. And Bubbles Anderson is the only Colorado native to play the Negro Leagues. And when I made the speech to get him into the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, I stood amongst all these other committee members and voters within the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame and just said, as the only African American, hey guys, our Hall of Fame is incomplete if we don't have the only link that Denver has to the Negro Leagues. If he's not in there, we are incomplete as a Hall of Fame. And it's a huge, 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 huge blessing to be able to have him in. And actually, I'll take it a step further. So the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, they actually do their tours out of Empire Field at Mile High. Mm-hmm. So there's a big wall where you see like the Ring of Honor, and you turn around and there's a big wall. They have all the list of names of the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame. It warms my heart, and it means the most. And I try not to cry, but I cry all the time when I talk about Bubbles Anderson. To know that somebody is going to walk there on game day, and before they go and watch the Broncos, they're going to say, okay, I know Troy Tulowitzki, I know Michaela Schifrin, I know these names, but I know Simon Fletcher, but who the heck is this Bubbles Anderson guy? And the moment that you start doing research on Bubbles Anderson is the reason why I fought so hard for 8 years to get him into the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, because I want everybody to know the rich history that we have in Denver. I want everybody to know about, and again, I could talk forever about this, so I'll try to make it short, but I want everybody to know that in 1934, there was a tournament called the Denver Post Tournament. It was a baseball tournament, and it was the only integrated tournament in America. So 13 years before there was a Jackie Robinson, the Kansas City Monarchs came and played in this tournament. If it wasn't for us, and I mean this, if it wasn't for us, there wouldn't be a Jackie Robinson. There wouldn't be integration in baseball. There wouldn't be the civil rights movement and the successes that they had. That's the way that we have to take it. And that's why learning the history of guys like Bubbles Anderson, the Denver White Elephants, Albert Henderson Wade Ross, who was the owner of the White Elephants, the longest lasting all-black baseball team for 21 seasons. His name literally is at the Rossonian right now. That's why it's so important that we learn our history, because we have power and we have something to say when it comes to baseball and to just sports history in this country.
That's powerful. And I was actually going to say it's kind of fitting because I'm going to be going to the Nebraska-Cincinnati game. But one of the things in Kansas City, but like one of the things in Mario was like commenting tonight, but like I asked him specifically, like, what is one thing I have to do when I go to Kansas City?
Yeah.
And we're going to go, my dad and I are going to go to the Negro Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yes, sir.
I believe it's Friday. So it's talk about, fitting that you bring this up just before I'm leaving to go to Kansas City. So I will be writing that name down. As far as to possibly see that name, which we should see that name, at that museum. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. So
and
thank you.
If you get the chance, please say hi to Bob Kendrick. He's the president of the Negro League Hall of Fame, a great friend of mine.
Okay.
I need to send him the program still, the ceremony in April. I forgot that thing, so let me go send it to him. But it is a tremendous story, and you are going to be blown away by what you see. And they're actually building up a new Negro League Hall of Fame as well, just to be able to go and get more size to it. So
there's a lot of history.
A lot of history, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful history. Every strikeout, every home run included, right? We tell the full story, and the full story and what makes it so beautiful. So enjoy it.
Jordan and Brandon, do you guys have anything? Maybe as a last question, you guys wanted to ask?
No, but that's so cool. I'm gonna go look up Bubbles Anderson's story.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I'm a big baseball guy, especially being Cuban and being surrounded with a bunch of Hispanics all my life. So that is a pretty cool story here.
Sadly, he's a Marlins fan, but that's beside the point. But
see, I told you. Come here, baby girl. Come here. There you go. This is my daughter, Brooke.
What's up?
It's time for you to go to bed, isn't it? So there's Jordan. There's Brandon. Can you say hi?
Hi.
Daddy
That's adorable.
Thank you, my baby.
Who's that?
Who is that? That is the guy who is a Miami Hurricanes fan. Like, it's okay. He thinks his team's going to win all the games, but they're probably going 4-8. It's okay.
Oh my god!
Forgive him.
That's a good one.
Oh man, the pleasure is ours. We will definitely have you on again. Justin, and for anybody that's also watching the show, make sure you hit that subscribe button for the MHRT Network page, as well as subscribing to the Mainly Broncos YouTube page, and of course follow the gents, all four of us over there on socials. You can follow Jordan at Jordan T. Lopez, Brandon at Brandon Miller PO, myself at Cameron Parker PO, and Justin. Where can they hit you up over there on the X Twitter platforms?
That's right, Justin Adams TV. I keep it as simple as possible. Please follow me on X, on Instagram, Justin Adams TV. I will follow you back. And my daughter doesn't have social media yet, so
well, God bless you, Justin, and obviously,
let's go Broncos! God bless Bo Nix.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flight miles.